viktiga opinionsledare är mycket lukrativa. Ledande akademiska psykiatriker kan personligen håva in över $500 000 om året från läkemedelsföretag.
These people are still considered the stars of their medical centers because they bring in all this great money from the pharmaceutical companies, and that helps keep the coffers of the medical center full.
Universities receive a lot of money from the pharmaceutical industry. Drug companies are building buildings right next to the medical school. They're funding research right and left.
The University of Michigan Depression Center received, I think it was $750,000 from Eli Lilly, and all they do down there is crank out this biological view of psychiatry and mental illness and depression.
Då akademiska psykiatriker får miljontals dollar i form av drogpengar till sina universitet är det inte förvånande att skolornas undervisningsplan är inriktad på personlighetsförändrande medel.
Training programs in psychiatry, the majority of them now are drugs first. You know, you're really a psychopharmacologist in a way when you come out of a psych residency training program.
Even when I went to medical school, psychiatrists did talk to patients. Now all they do is write a prescription and send them away.
A psychiatrist is trained for one purpose, to administer psychiatric drugs.
Akademiska psykiatriker inte bara indoktrinerar framtida receptutskrivare. De förespråkar också i hög grad dessa medel för sina kollegor. Först genom att skapa kliniska undersökningar som man kallar objektiv forskning som betonar både en påhittad psykiatrisk störning och drogen för att behandla den. Dessa undersökningar sätts sedan in i facktidningar för att läsas av deras kollegor och citeras i media. Men vad läsare inte vet är att dessa psykiatriker i omkring 50% av fallen aldrig tog del i undersökningarna.
One of the most unethical practices we're aware of is ghostwriting of journal articles, where somebody at the pharmaceutical company will write the paper and the academic physician will put his name on it and get it published in a major journal when he maybe changed 3 or 4 words in the whole article, and the article was basically written as a marketing tool by the drug company, and yet this academic puts his name on it as if he's the author.
He has had no part in the study, and also he probably hasn't even read the study results, but he is prepared to receive $10,000–$20,000 to put his name at the front of the research, which gives it added authority.
Spökskrivande är så vanligt att till och med den psykiatriker vid FDA som leder departementet för utvärdering av psykiatriska medels säkerhet har satt sitt namn på spökskrivna artiklar.
The average physician picks that up and reads it. He believes it. And it's not a mystery that he would believe it. It seems reasonable that it's in black and white, it's in a good journal, it's in the New England Journal of Medicine. It must be true.
Dessa tidskrifter skickas ofta gratis till psykiatriker och läkare under sken av legitim medicinsk forskning. Varför är de då gratis? Därför att läkemedelsföretagens annonser för läkemedel drar in enorma inkomster till tidskrifternas utgivare.
So if you go through a medical journal, you'll see page after page of advertising for bipolar disorder and treatment of using medications, or advertisings for depression and the treatment of using medications, schizophrenia. So it's really everywhere.
I remember just a couple of years ago, the first time I opened the journal from the American Psychological Association called the APA Monitor, and there was a multi-page ad, high gloss, very expensive, for Concerta, which is time-release Ritalin. I resigned from the American Psychological Association. I wasn't going to be part of this whatsoever.
It's very hard when your major source of income is advertising and advertising placement to write an article that's negative about a particular drug and expect that company to continue to buy ads in your medical journal. So that's a major issue.
Men viktiga psykiatriska opinionsledare är inte nöjda med att fylla medicinska tidskrifter med spökskrivna artiklar. De sprider också de personlighetsförändrande medlens evangelium vid konferenser vid medicinsk vidareutbildning, även kallat CME, Continuing Medical Education.
Physicians and nurse practitioners and physicians assistants are mandated to take a certain amount of continuing education credits every year. Well, 70% of all continuing medical education is now funded by the pharmaceutical industry.
That seminar is going to be taught by a professional who is employed by the pharmaceutical company. The very nature of where someone is giving you your support means you are biased to that person's side.
Many physicians and many psychiatrists who attend medical conferences don't know that when they go to that conference meeting that's about antidepressants, antipsychotics, and it's generally a academic psychiatrist who's speaking, they don't realize that person's probably making about $10,000 for that 1-hour speech.
Men man behöver inte vara en akademisk psykiatriker för att få en bit av kakan. Psykiatriker som i stor omfattning skriver ut personlighetsförändrande medel belönas generöst av läkemedelsbolagens försäljningsrepresentanter för att de skapar lokal verksamhet.
Psychiatrists, especially high prescribers, are targeted and gifted extensively by the industry. Now that gifting is where you need to get specific.
That was not unusual during our marketing conversations to say, well, what's our top drug writer? You know, who's the doctor that's prescribing the most of this drug? Well, you know, let's send them to the Kentucky Derby.
We offered trips on some occasions to come out and hear a 2-hour talk, but it happened to be on a nice island in Hawaii.
There were a lot of things that we did day in and day out to try to get the doctors to write our drugs, or in my case to write for the psychiatric drugs. We did a lot of lunches and dinners, and we brought in speakers, and those speakers were obviously paid by us, and we would wave you know, renowned studies at them from renowned journals. But of course we would never say that these studies were paid for by our company, and that it was written by a ghostwriter who was paid by our company, or that our company tends to do a ton of advertising within that particular medical journal. We would never say that.
Med över 300 miljoner recept på psykiatriska medel utskrivna varje år blir de psykiatriker som skriver ut många recept rikligt belönade för att öppna nya marknader. De får upp till 25% mer pengar från läkemedelsföretagen än någon annan medicinsk inriktning, vilket i en delstat var i snitt över $45,000 om året per toppsykiatriker.
Psychiatrists get more kickback from the pharmaceutical companies than any other branch of medicine.
The profession of psychiatry couldn't keep its journals afloat, couldn't keep its conferences afloat, couldn't keep its organizations afloat without money from drug companies. The drug companies really have psychiatry in their pocket.
This is a profession whose diagnoses have been heavily influenced by people who are heavily influenced by the pharmaceutical industry, and whose treatments are almost exclusively these days pharmaceuticals. We should be able to count on them. I do not believe that we can.
På grund av oupphörlig marknadsföring av psykiatriker har utskrivningen av personlighetsförändrande medel spritt sig inte bara inom psykiatrin utan inom hela läkarkåren. Men denna marknadsföringskampanj har en annan del, en som fyller psykiatrikernas fickor mer än någon annan. Och den siktar in sig direkt på dig.
Abilify helps control symptoms of bipolar mania.
Ask your doctor about Effexor XR.
Paxil, the most prescribed medication of its kind.
Prozac Weekly is here. Zoloft, a prescription.
Seraphim, PMDD.
Psykiatriker och läkemedelsföretag kör inte med sitt reklamsnack bara till receptutskrivande kollegor. De kör med det direkt till användaren, dig, och räknar med att du stiger in på deras praktik och vill ha ett recept.
The direct-to-consumer advertising is instilling the notion in every human being that something is mentally wrong, something needs correction. That drives people to see a psychiatrist to help to mitigate this by dispensing the medication, by dispensing a drug that they have had pushed on them on countless television ads, countless magazine ads, and countless print ads that say, hey, there's something wrong with you, go get help for it.
Ingenstans är denna explosion av direktannonsering till konsumenten mer uppenbar än i TV. Det har inte alltid varit så. Tills nyligen har annonsering av psykiatriska medel på TV varit strängt reglerat. Men 1997 övertalades FDA om att mjuka upp sina regler om annonsering i media, vilket direkt bryter mot artikel 10 av ett internationellt avtal som undertecknats i FN.
Every 5 minutes there's a new drug ad. And this is not by accident. This is cold, canny, scientific design.
Ads are fundamentally of two types. One type of ad is a effort to try to get the patient to take the drug company's drug.
Abilify helps control symptoms of bipolar mania and reduce...
But then the second kind of direct-to-consumer advertising is the "you're sick and you didn't know it" advertising.
You could be suffering from generalized anxiety disorder.
Because they want to create sales, so what they're going to do is tell people, do you have these symptoms? Do you have this disease? Do you have this particular condition?
But they hit it so hard on television that people say, ask your doctor, ask your doctor. Every commercial is a referral to the doctor. See, they're working for each other.
Ask your doctor about Cymbalta. Depression hurts. Cymbalta can help.
I can go to my doctor and say, here are my symptoms, and walk out with the prescription I want. I can ask for a drug by name, and most of the time I'll be given the drug. So basically I'm my own doctor.
The industry defends what it's doing by saying this is some kind of public health education campaign. And I'm sorry, I think if you go to an advertising agency, you're advertising.
Redan från början har reklam för psykiatriska droger på TV varit enormt framgångsrik. Enbart de första 3 åren sköt försäljningen av psykiatriska medel i höjden med 250%. Med inkomster som nu når rekordnivåer spenderar läkemedelsindustrin varje år 2,9 miljarder dollar på reklam enbart i TV. Och när väl detta driver in folk i psykiatrikernas praktiker kan de fångas med hjälp av en annan marknadsföringsgimmick: gratisprover.
The industry is willing to give out millions of dollars worth of free samples because it generates billions of dollars in sales.
You want a prescription and you want Prozac written forever as a maintenance therapy. So you establish that with some free Prozac up front.
Here, take this sample, it doesn't cost you anything, and then if you like it or if it seems to work, then we'll make a prescription, but you're going to have to pay for that prescription. The sample is free. So it's really a marketing technique.
They got a cash cow. Zero refill means you've got to go back to the doctor for another consultation, for another subscription, and it just goes forever. This is business. This is money.
Viss marknadsföring som görs direkt till konsumenten är kamouflerad som information till allmänheten. Psykiatriker framträder regelbundet i media där de varnar allmänheten för de senaste epidemierna av psykisk sjukdom och ropar ut sina senaste banbrytande framsteg. De skriver artiklar som sätts in i tidningar och tidskrifter som gynnar deras kampanjer för medvetenhet om psykisk hälsa. Till och med patientgrupper som hävdar att de erbjuder objektiv information om psykiatriska medel är, om man tittar närmare på dem, frontgrupper finansierade av läkemedelsföretag och ledda av psykiatriker.
They were started specifically by the industry themselves, and the public isn't informed of that. You know, it's basically a great big lie to the public that they think they're going to a charitable organization that has their best interest at heart.
Ett typexempel: barn och vuxna med uppmärksamhetsstörning, eller CHADD, den största bäst finansierade frontgruppen för de som gör stimulerande medel. Steven Plogg är en tidigare chef vid CHADD.
When I became the CHAD coordinator for Las Vegas, they gave me a manual, and in it said we want to provide unbiased information to help and support people who have ADD. For the next 30 days, we put 22 parents and their kids on a program with lab tests to find out what their causes were, eliminated their causes, they got prescription free, medication free, side effect free, and they got better with their self-esteem, and they became actually happier, healthier, and more successful. Chad found out about this, called me up and says we do not allow people to talk about nutrition in any of our seminars. We only prescribe going to a psychiatrist who will only prescribe drugs and therapy. So they said you can no longer work with us, and they fired me for simply recommending that parents go get a lab test, find out what the causes are, and eliminate the causes. They do not allow that. They only allow medication and psychiatric treatment.
Psykiatriska patientgrupper förespråkar också behandling med personlighetsförändrande medel genom omfattande marknadsundersökningar kamouflerade till medicinska frågeformulär.
You can take a survey of maybe 16 questions. And if you are a normal human being who's lived through ranges of emotions of normal life experience, if you've known the exhilaration of the birth of a child, a niece, a nephew, and the devastation of a divorce and the loss of dreams, and answer honestly to those questions, you will diagnose yourself as bipolar. And the instructions that come back along with the diagnosis or the warning that you're probably bipolar say, print this out and take it to your doctor.
Och hur enkelt är det inte att logga in, besvara typiska frågor om sitt liv och stämplas med en psykiatrisk störning? Här är några slumpmässigt valda frivilliga